Now at 10, one Pierce City family gathers 5 generations for one big Christmas. Plus, some local volunteers get to pitch in during the season of giving with the Salvation Army. And the Neosho community came together to provide for each other in their annual community Christmas dinner.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Cale Chapman. 5 generations of family members celebrated Christmas in Pierce City today. The large family with 22 grandchildren gathered together to celebrate Christmas at the First Baptist Church in Pierce City. A few years back, family members realized that the great-great-grandparents' house became too small and have been celebrating Christmas in church ever since. Their latest addition, the 5th generation to the family, was born last year on Christmas Eve. The great-grandmother Deborah Parmley says some family members live out of state, so it's a blessing to have everyone together and to bring their homemade foods.
Every Christmas and every Thanksgiving, we bring almost the same thing because we know everybody, okay, this is what you're bringing, just bring the same thing you did for Christmas or for Thanksgiving. So, yeah. And our mom, she has to make her potato salad because it's just like, it's the family thing.
We got family in South Carolina, Kansas City, Texas. Yep, they all make it.
Parmley says their family is known in the area as they take quite a lot of room to seat everyone in church. It's important to help one another during the season of giving. Some volunteers from the community were able to do just that today with the Salvation Army in Joplin. The group hosted a Christmas Day lunch for those in need.
I think it's important for everybody to give back, not only on Christmas, but we have to remember after Christmas too, because that's when the need arises even more. And after the first of the year, people are back to where they were, where they were before. So it's important that we not only remember Christmas, but we remember the other days of the week.
The Joplin Salvation Army was able to give away nearly 300 meals to those in need today. Local churches, KNEO 91.7 FM and the City of Neosho are hosting their 20th annual community dinner today. The event was held in the Neosho Municipal Auditorium, but meal delivery was available upon request. This year, over 500 people received a meal.
There's no doubt what sustains it is the people. God working through the people and the people working together. The Neosho community, Newton County community, they're just giving people. They care about people. Neighbor helps neighbor, and this is just another way to help the neighbors. Some you never know, but we do have a place for them to come, and especially this year, it's a little cold outside, so it's a good place to come in and get warm.
Meals were delivered to the Neosho Fire and Police Departments, local EMS, the Newton County Jail, those that are homebound in the community, and those that received Meals on Wheels. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us with a first look at the weather.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky out there right now, especially up towards the north. We have winter weather advisories in effect in Oklahoma until 5 a.m. in the morning and 6 a.m. for Kansas and in southwest Missouri. That's because of this band of precip that's developed across our area. That's moving to the south and east. So we're going to start to see a mixture of sleet, snow, and freezing rain with this as we head into the overnight hours. So if you're traveling, just be a little bit extra careful out there, especially if you're traveling on some of those bridges and overpasses. Tonight, 30 degrees at 11 o'clock with that mixture. That continues into about midnight, and then 6 a.m. turning to light flurries with a temperature of 25. We'll drop down to 24 by tomorrow morning, and we're going to take a look down the lane, and we're going to see a tonight mix, and then a cold Monday, but there is a warmer week ahead. And what about a rainy New Year's? I'll have all the details coming up in just a little bit.
Well, the brutal winter storm keeps on bringing misery, with large parts of the U.S. suffering record low temperatures. Dangerous driving conditions, power outages, and widespread holiday flight delays and cancellations are part of the storm's powerful impact. At least 17 storm-related deaths have been reported, including cases of exposure to the cold and auto accidents. CBS News correspondent Christian Benavidez reports from Miami, Florida.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul called in the state National Guard to help dig out from the historic blizzard that hit the Buffalo area. Hochul said the entire state is struggling with temperatures that feel below zero with the real chill factored in.
This Arctic chill continues to stay over our state.
Icy roads and low visibility in large parts of the Midwest, South, and Northeast are making driving nearly impossible for countless Americans. At least 4 people were killed in a pileup involving close to 50 vehicles on the Ohio Turnpike. The storm is forcing airlines to cancel or delay thousands of flights across the U.S., making spending the holiday weekend with loved ones a challenge.
I want to eat my mom's famous mac and cheese.
This family was waiting to fly out of New York's LaGuardia Airport to connect with a cruise ship.
We have no choice. If we miss it, that's it. There's no Christmas. Christmas is canceled.
And those who lack shelter are feeling the worst of the biting cold blanketing much of the country. In El Paso, Texas, some migrants remained on the streets where they endured temperatures dipping into the teens. But the storm has created something of beauty in upstate New York, turning this lakeside restaurant into what looks like an ice castle. Cristian Benavides, CBS News.
The blizzards, freezing rain, and frigid cold have knocked out power to hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses across the U.S. A major electricity grid operator warned the 65 million people it serves across the eastern U.S. that rolling blackouts might be required. And today in Monette, Missouri, people were able to receive a Christmas lunch at the First United Methodist Church. People from Monette and neighboring Pierce City were able to dine in or drive through at the church. The church also ran a gift program for the kids. Some of the organizers included the son and grandson of the founder of this event.
He just eating Christmas dinner one day with our family, had a bunch of food left over, and he knew people that didn't have food, so we just started it the next year. I think we had 12 people that year. This is our 45th year, and I'm 45 years old. My grandpa started this when I was born, so this is the only Christmas I know.
Organizers say that people they used to help that don't need help anymore come back to help serve food for others in need. Food for the event came from generous donations. Firefighters came to the aid of a dog owner trying to save their pup after it fell through a frozen lake yesterday. The Oklahoma City Fire Department said that its crews were called to the scene where a dog owner was holding a rope attached to a dog that had fallen through the ice. Firefighters used a paddle boat to rescue the dog and bring it to shore. The dog had no apparent injuries. We now take time to honor a local veteran. Robrino Gomez, a Coffeyville, Kansas native, served in the Marines in the early 2000s. Gomez was deployed to Japan in 2005 and Iraq in 2006. To Corporal Robrino Gomez, we thank you, a four-state hero. And coming up, the Coast Guard monitors an oil spill in Texas.
From investigations into former President Trump and the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol to the midterm elections shaking up Congress. I'm Skyler Henry in Washington with a look at the year in politics.
The Coast Guard in Corpus Christi sent out pollution responders to monitor the response to an oil spill. The oil spill happened in the La Quinta Channel in Corpus Christi Bay, Texas earlier today. Pollution responders estimated up to 3,800 gallons of light crude oil entered the water from a cracked pipeline near the Flint Hills Ingleside facility. 2022 saw Americans go to the polls for midterm elections. President Biden trying to deal with the economy, former President Donald Trump already looking ahead to 2024, and the Supreme Court issuing decisions that will have impacts for decades to come. Skyler Henry has more details from Washington, D.C.
The people have spoken.
Midterm elections made 2022 a high-stakes year for politics. Democrats held control of the Senate and even gained a seat after Georgia's runoff race.
51, a slim majority. That is great.
But celebrations were short-lived after Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema announced she was leaving the Democratic caucus to be an independent. Republicans narrowly recaptured the House, giving the GOP control of one chamber.
For me, the hours come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect.
Nancy Pelosi announced she was stepping down from her leadership position following the Republican win and a brutal attack on her husband. Investigators said the House Speaker was the intended target.
Are you ready to take this state back?
Some of the most prominent midterm candidates backed by former President Trump lost their races. As the GOP shifted blame to him, he announced another run for the White House.
America's comeback starts right now.
Trump's announcement came just before the appointment of a special counsel to oversee investigations into the former president, including his handling of classified material at his Florida home. Trump was also the focus of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th assault. A series of public hearings featured testimony from people near the president that day, including aide Cassidy Hutchinson.
The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now."
The committee released a final report laying out the former president's culpability for the insurrection.
We believe that the evidence warrants a criminal referral of former President Donald J. Trump.
Congress also passed a handful of President Biden's key legislative priorities, including the Inflation Reduction Act, with $369 billion in climate investments over the next decade, the first major gun control bill in nearly 30 years, and more than $18 billion in aid for Ukraine in its fight against Russia.
Putin's invasion of Ukraine in March set gas prices soaring literally around the world.
President Biden spent much of the year trying to ease the economic strain on Americans. He tapped the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to lower gas prices and canceled up to $10,000 in student loan debt for millions of Americans. Legal challenges to the loan forgiveness are headed to the Supreme Court. In June, the High Court's conservative majority upended decades of precedent, reversing Roe v. Wade, ending federal protection for abortion rights.
The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk.
This decision is a victory for the pro-life movement.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson took the oath ahead of the fall term.
I, Ketanji Brown Jackson,
becoming the first African-American woman to serve on the Supreme Court. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Congress also acted just before the end of the year to pass the Respect for Marriage Act, which makes same-sex and biracial marriages legal nationwide. Lawmakers rushed to pass the bill in case the Supreme Court reversed the decision making those marriages legal. Stay tuned for tomorrow, where we will recap the year in entertainment. And a Christmas miracle for a Winston-Salem pastor who has faced hardship after hardship. Bishop Charles Edwin Gwynn Jr. has faced many obstacles in his life. He says he lost his mother and dogs back in 2018, and a year before that, his home caught fire. Now he struggles living paycheck to paycheck. Recently, Pastor Gwynn needed some work done on his car. He took it to a close friend, Jeff Moser, at R&R Automotive and Tire. After all was said and done, the bill was a hefty one, nearly $1,200. Thankfully, he didn't have to worry about that for long. Moser paid the entire bill for Gwynn so he could take the car home that day.
And I walked in on yesterday and he says, here go the bill. And I said, God, I said, Jeff, I can't pay for this. He said, Merry Christmas. It's paid for.
Lord, just tell me I need to help people. Try to help people when I can, and Charles kept popping on my mind. He needed help, so I helped him.
And a little later, we take a look at the Christmas weekend box office report.
And we're starting to see some snow and some sleet on the radar. I'll tell you all about it when we return with your forecast. Well, friends, I hope you've had a safe and happy holiday season so far. We're starting to see some travel problems develop as we have a weak system dropping in from the north and west, and we'll get to the details in a moment. Right now, though, in Seneca, Missouri at Indigo Sky Casino Resort, pretty nice evening down there. It's a little cold, of course, with the snow on the ground and temperatures in the 30s down that way. This afternoon, we made it into the 30s across the area, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, I wanted to show you Storm Tracker radar. And you can see that we have a winter weather advisory in effect for southeastern Kansas and southwest Missouri until 6 a.m. So basically, it's a traveler's advisory. If you're going to be traveling tonight, just be aware of that, especially those bridges and overpasses. And down in Oklahoma, the winter weather advisory is in effect there until 5 a.m. So just a little bit more time if you're going to be traveling tonight would be helpful. All right, let's take a look over the last 36 hours. You can see temperatures were very cold yesterday. We only made it up to 19. This morning we dropped down into the single digits, and then this afternoon we've been kind of on an upward swing, and even right now we're 33 degrees and the dew point is low, and so that's going to be a factor in just a minute. Right now the high this afternoon was 30, but now we're actually warmer than the afternoon high We started out at 5. Of course, that wasn't anywhere near the normals, nor were we close to the records. That record cold December back in 1983. Temperatures right now are in the 30s. There are a few places that are above freezing, like Miami, Welch, and Veneta, and you'd think, okay, we're fine, it's above freezing. Well, you'd be speaking a little bit too soon, because when you look at the dew points, you'll see why. Temperatures this evening are generally about 15 to 20 degrees warmer than they were last night at this time, so that's progress. And when you look at the wind chills, we're looking at wind chills in the teens up to the north in Iola, 30 in Parsons, 30 in Commerce, and 25 in Webb City. But here's what I want to show you, the dew points. The dew points are in the teens. Now what this means is as you start to precipitate through this dry air mass, it's what we call cooling the column or wet bulbing. What happens is the dew point increases, but the temperature starts to drop, and they kind of meet about 60% of the way between the difference. And so that's why we're expecting temperatures to start falling once again as the precipitation falls through the atmosphere. Right now it's Joplin, it's sitting at 33. It feels like 25 because of the wind at 9, but notice the dew point of 15, so the humidity is 48%, so we're going to be dropping through to the upper 20s as the dew point increases, and that's why we're concerned about the possibility of that winter mix. Over the next 36 hours, best chance of that will be from now until about 3 a.m., then maybe some snow flurries in the morning, and then maybe again tomorrow night, but very small chance then. Temperatures by tomorrow morning will be in the 20s across the area, but notice there will be a front up to the north and west. That's going to introduce more cold air behind it, and the system that's over us now will start to move away. That front will sweep through, temperatures will drop down into the 20s by afternoon, and then they'll go all the way down into the teens once again as we go into Tuesday morning. And then Tuesday afternoon, we're going to see temperatures rising back into the 30s and lower 40s across our area, so that'll feel nice. And then Wednesday morning, we'll see lows generally in the 30s across our area with just a few passing clouds. So here's the storm system tonight. That will move away from us as we head towards the rest of the week. We'll see milder weather moving in ahead of the next storm system that's also going to bring us a chance of rain instead of winter-like precipitation. Here's your 7-day forecast. 29 tomorrow with the snow in the morning, and then 40 on Tuesday, and then 60s by Thursday with another chance of rain as we move into Thursday night and into Friday. And of course, we start off the new year with temperatures mild with readings in the 40s and 50s.
Well, it's a good start to the new year there.
Good start.
Heck yeah.
Hopefully it'll hold on.
Hopefully. Well, still ahead, we have a look back at our pigskin preview predictions from this football season. Sports director Jacob Leonard joins us and tells us about where he knew it, where we blew it, and the rest of our predictions after the break.
Every fall, we put out our annual Pigskin Preview, and in that preview, we make predictions for high school and college teams from all across the area. That's a tough thing to do, and ultimately, we get some right and we get some wrong, sometimes really wrong. So, here we go. It's where we knew it and where we blew it.
Where we blew it.
The Seneca Indians, I'm not gonna lie, I thought we may have seen the best of them in 2021, but they were even better this fall. We picked them to go 6-3. They finished 8-1 in the regular season, including knocking off top-ranked Lamar. Seneca made it all the way to the Class II state semifinals. They are now 19-7 in their first 2 years under Cody Hilburn with 2 district championships.
Where we knew it.
The Girard Trojans, we picked them to go undefeated in the regular season, and for the second straight year, that is what they did. The Trojans' closest game of the regular season was actually week 1 against Columbus. From there, they drilled everybody, finishing with a 10-1 overall record and their second consecutive regional title.
Where we blew it.
The Pittsburgh State Gorillas. I thought they were going to be really good, but they were even better than I thought. We had them in the magazine at 9-2. They went 11-0 in the regular season and won their first MIAA title since 2014. They also made the playoffs, and the team that knocked them out, Ferris State, went on to win the national title.
Where we knew it.
The Missouri Southern Lions, they took a step in the right direction last year. We thought they would take another this year, and they did. The Lions finished with 4 wins this fall in their second full season under head coach Atiba Bradley. It's the first time since 2014 they've won 4 games, and 3 of their losses were by 4 or fewer points. So, Southern, still a program definitely on the way up.
Where we blew it.
We blew it on the Miami War Dogs. We picked Miami to go 3-7. They got things turned around and went 6-4 in the regular season. And not only that, but the War Dogs made the playoffs for the first time in more than a decade.
Where we knew it.
Well, I didn't think there was anybody on Chanute's schedule that could compete with them in the regular season, and that proved to be true. Chanute went 8-0 as we predicted, and their closest game in the regular season was a 15-point win over Pittsburgh. The Comets made it all the way to the regional championship game and finished with a 9-1 overall record.
Where we blew it.
The Quapaw Wildcats, we had them in the preview at 5-5, and they were a lot better than that. Quapaw went 9-1 in the regular season. I said it all year, this was one of my favorite teams to watch this season. They finished with a 10-2 overall record, their first 10-win season since 1995. So there you have it. Of course, there were more where we got it right and wrong. Those are just the ones that stood out most to me. The good news, we'll get another shot at it next fall. We'll be back after this.
Well, Christmas weekend always brings a lot of big movies, and this year was no exception. Could an animated adventure, a musical biopic, or a tale of an old Hollywood spoil the Avatar sequel's holiday cheer? David Daniel has early box office estimates for the top 5 films in theaters.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is up to $426 million in domestic ticket sales after a 5th-place weekend worth $3 million. $3.5 million put Babylon in 4th place in its first weekend in theaters. Whitney Houston, I Wanna Dance with Somebody debuted at number 3 on the chart, grossing $5.3 million.
This is a person party. That's your party. So this is where dignity goes to die.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was the top new movie in theaters, lapping up $11.4 million in its opening weekend.
So what does her heartbeat sound like?
Mighty.
Avatar: The Way of Water soared to victory for the 2nd straight weekend, taking in an estimated $56 million for a 10-day domestic total of $254 million. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty good stuff.
We have some water too, but it's going to be falling out of the sky in the form of some freezing rain and some snow tonight. Not a big travel problem, but just take some extra caution out there. We are under a winter weather advisory until in the morning. And then we start the warming trend as we head through the rest of the week with rain as we move into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the new year. And that continues as far as temperatures go right into the early part of 2023.
Well, there you go, 2023, the way of water. Alrighty, well, that's our time for tonight. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow, and Merry Christmas as well. We'll leave you with some video of Washington, D.C., all decorated for our special Christmas day.